full stack AI engineer. My company, what we do is we get projects from across the world, software development projects. We take the client's requirements and then we accordingly suggest them like what should the project be like and what technology we should use. We are more concentrated on solving the problems that people have. So I feel that tech is just a way of solving people's problem. Particularly as an AI engineer, what my role involves is that I get assigned features or projects that involve maybe Gen AI implementation and all such things. For an example, I have been working on a project that is a global search in which you have to make the entire data in the database searchable. So we are implementing it using OpenSearch, which is an open source software. But the thing is, where we are involving AI in there is that we want natural language searching capability so that from the entire database, the user can search anything. He can question in natural language, and then that natural language question, it gets converted into an open search query, and then it gets executed. And along with that, we also have hybrid search technique in which we use embeddings.
Okay.
So this is the high-level explanation of what we are doing and what this involves. And it also involves like talking to the clients, working like I also worked on a project that included computer vision, audio detection.
Yeah.
So there are multiple domains that you get to explore.
Yeah, I recently listened about the agents, like they're also used to build the agents kind of things. Recently, I was connected to some, person who is also pursuing the AI engineering role. So he told me that he's currently building the AI agents for his company. So is that also part of the role?
Mostly it depends on the kind of projects you get, but yes, it is part of the role. Like in future and present also, there are other people which are handling this type of development, agentic AI. According to what I think, when you make AI work for itself, like decide as well as execute, which we are also doing in our current implementations also, that is agentic AI. There is nothing special, that is something unique or extra when people say agentic AI. It's just a project where we include AI to help us.
I'm directly coming to the point that what does a typical day of a engineer role looks like? Like, what your working hours?
So actually, I reach my office at 9:30 and I clock out at 6:30. So it's 9 hours. We get 1 hour of break. And when I reach the office, the usual things, I check my emails, open the Slack, and then I check my attendance and all the records. Then I go through all the messages that are there on the Slack, what action items I need to cover up for today. And then I just start working on my previous day things, like there have been projects going on. I check them and I start developing them. Then there are meetings, scrum meetings on the projects that you are working, as well as meetings with the technical project managers on different projects, where they explain you about the things and they align the entire team about the things. And so most of the time it involves development, and sometimes we also have meetings, like there are a lot of meetings, and sometimes all of the day we are just developing the project. So this is the real day in life.
Okay. So what do you feel about your, timings? Is it flexible?
As it is about my company, our company has a very good culture, and it also has received some cultures to a score of more than 9, which is which is not very applicable for all the other companies. So, and around the hours, I feel the type of people that you work with, if they are not micromanaging you, they have trust on you and they have confidence on you that they have assigned you some task, and that they know that at the end of the assigned deadline, you will complete it. So that is what I think changes the situation a bit. So the exact experience, it varies from person to person, but this has been my experience.
Got it. Yeah. So, coming to AI, it is a part of the, I mean, like role, right? Like in the age of AI, there is a multiple roles are also there, which is like AI engineer, data scientist, and ML engineer. Like probably I'm not really, that much of aware of the kind of roles. So, could you please explain me, what they're exactly and how they are different from each other?
So first of all, we have machine learning engineering, in which the problem in the current market is that they will ask for an AI engineer. However, the company's requirement would be of that the person should know ML, the person should know Gen AI, the person should know full stack as well. This is what I have seen around. So there is not much clarity. There's very much fluidity around the roles. The kind of boundaries the roles had prior pre-AI era. So those boundaries are not there. Even the full stack person is doing AI work and AI engineer is doing full stack work. So that is the thing. And actually the type of requirements depend on the job description of the company that you are applying for. For example, if there is an AI engineer role, it may be that the company has only listed Gen AI requirements. So it will be like Python, Fast API, and all the LLM integration of their APIs, then LangGraph, LangChain. So that is going to be there. And sometimes the company may have listed AI engineer role, and they would have listed deep learning models, machine learning models, Keras, TensorFlow, and PyTorch. So there is no correct JD for these roles. But what you see on the internet for the machine learning engineer role, it is said to have good machine learning knowledge, like have projects on Kaggle, deep learning knowledge, be part of some research papers. And for the AI engineer role, Gen AI plus ML. And for the data scientist role, ML plus some knowledge of data analysis, data exploration. So that is my knowledge.
Got it. So, if you want to explain to the person who didn't know about all these things, what exactly you can explain about three of the roles like ML engineer, data scientist, and AI engineer. How do you differentiate them? In the simple terms, like
in the simple term, ML engineer is a person who is more into he has a ton of data that is not consistent, that is not clean, and he has to derive insights and train models and get some predictions from that cluttered state of data. That is the work of ML engineer. And ML also, you may have to work with deep learning models. And the second is AI engineer. AI engineer in current sense, in Indian context, it involves more Gen AI work, which involves making projects that are maybe wrappers, like they call ChatGPT wrappers or such.
Got it.
And which was the third one?
Data scientist.
And data scientist, I would say, playing with the numbers, more on the mathematical side.
Specifically use it for one kind of thing. Like for example, there is a something tool called Starter AI. They are prominently focuses on the study purpose. So is that only the thing I need to know? Otherwise, is there any other thing to know about wrapper?
What I meant from ChatGPT wrappers was that you plug in the ChatGPT API so as to solve the problem that you have been facing. For example, same thing that I have been talking about, the natural language search. You ask a question. That question, using the LLM API, it gets converted into the type of query that the database or OpenSearch needs, and then it gets executed.
Okay. it is very easy to build the things and stuff, right? Like with the use of vibe coding, we can build the websites and do some crazy stuff. But as a student, it seems like not convincing. In the 2026, it is completely different. Vibe coding tools are there, and we can literally build a portfolio or any website for anything. So, what kind of suggestion do you give regarding this? So, is it really not a helpful, but how far it will be good to use it while improving our skills as a student? What do you say?
I think that there is no future without AI. So regarding the skills and the AI doing the part and you not developing the skills, I would say that devote full time on developing the skills. Don't vibe code everything. You have to do the boring parts of the learning. For example, in my case, when I started learning, तब भी AI आ गया था. But still, I watched 14-hour long tutorials on YouTube and typed the code by hand. And in those, for example, it was an e-commerce one short video in which they taught front end, back end, and integration. So I wrote all that code by hand. Now, when I vibe code things, when I use AI to implement all of these things, the speed of my understanding, it is very good. So if a person who has not once gone into the depth of full stack development or AI development or using all of these frameworks like LangGraph, LangChain, they have not understood the basics, they will not be able to prompt the AI better than me. So that is the difference I think people should learn.
What kind of suggestion do you give to the people like my peers who are pursuing engineering? They don't even have the idea of there is something lot of things to try out. So, what kind of suggestion do you give to those students who are only rely on academics?
I also had a lot of people in my college that only relied on their academics and they were satisfied with what the college is teaching them, but it proved to be harmful for them in the long run because all the engineering degree and the computer sciences degree people do to get jobs, to get good jobs, high paying jobs, but outside the college in the corporate world you have to stay updated, you have to stay up to date to all the trends and innovations that are coming, you have to be on your toes, you have to present yourself well, you have to communicate well, and if you don't have the skill of being up to date and you are just only like a child who is now waiting to be spoon fed, that is not going to work in the outside world and that is not appreciated. Those people are not like very appreciated by the management. If you want appreciation, you want to develop confidence, you need to get outside of the academic world because I think the academics that they teach, honestly, those things are really outdated. They don't have any connection to what we are doing in the corporate. So you need to develop that habit of having the skills which are in use, like the thing you are doing, you are talking to people who are in corporate. That is something really good. That is going to be very helpful in future. So yes.
So in my college, like there is a lot of hype regarding placements, like to achieve the placements, to have to do some problems on DSA, on late code and algorithms. So it is not the thing, but what I'm trying to asking is to crack the AI rules, or when someone wants to pursue this kind of roles regarding AI, how important it is to learn the data structures and algorithms. What do you say about this?
I think the regarding the placement thing, it depends on whether you are going for the job search through off-campus path or on-campus path. Because if you are going for the on-campus path, then you need to have good foundations in data structures and algorithms, because that is the thing on which the companies that come for placement, they assess you on. They don't ask you for your development fundamentals. They I mean, there is less inclination toward the development skill, and the main criteria for selection is DSA. So if your path is on-campus placements, then DSA is very important. But if you want to crack jobs off campus, then the scenario changes a bit. Also, it depends on the type of college and the type of tags you have, because I think in India that matters a lot, because it kind of opens the type of opportunities you get. So in the off-campus path, development skills play a major role. DSA is a supporter. That is what I have felt. The projects you build and the soft skills you have, they play more role than DSA. And just having DSA skills or these skills, they won't make you better than others.
What should a person avoid wasting time on while learning? Like there's a number of tutorials and lot of information out there regarding learning, machine learning. These kind of roles are hyping today, where it became famous, and the people are like fascinating this by getting attractions on social media. So in this kind of situation, what should a person, like a student, avoid wasting time on learning?
Understanding of the thing you are doing. For example, if you are vibe coding a project or you are developing a project for your exams or for interviews, I think having a good understanding of what you are developing is very important. If you are just developing and you don't understand what there is in the project, how each and every implementation work, and you have not read a single line of code, I think that is a waste of time, because in the long run it is going to hamper your performance in the interview, and also you won't feel very confident in the interview when you will be explaining the project, and the people that are interviewing you and they have more experience than you, it will be very easy for them to pinpoint the things. So because because of the AI revolution, vibe coding has been very prevalent. So this is the thing that people should not waste time on. And secondly, I think in your first and second year, you should, because it has been 2 years, so you should develop a clarity on which side of the tech you want to pursue. Is it DevOps, it is cloud, or is it AI? And you choose a path and you go all in. You should not switch the paths consistently. You did DevOps for 2 months and then you did this and other thing. Take a path, for example, take AI ML, research all about it, search about the courses, search about the people, and then go all in to that path.
Okay, I will learn it. So Riddhi, it's really, my personal question regarding hackathons. So, I'm really not specifically, explaining about how to crack hackathons or how to participate in, but what kind of mindset they should have while participating in hackathons. So how desperately they should be how desire to be getting into a hackathon. What is the benefits of into the hackathons?
For me, the biggest benefit of hackathon has been it has really has a good impact on my resume. So whenever the recruiters or anyone else sees that I have done these hackathons, it is an instant signal to them that I have done some on-hand learning on the project. I have proof of my work. So basically, participating in hackathons builds proof of your work. And secondly, it also develops your confidence. You go through all those rounds and you develop the confidence that you can work on a problem statement and you can take things to the production. You can handle things well. It makes you more comfortable with tech. And obviously, it helps with internships, interviews, because whenever you list it in your resume, you are going to get asked. And thirdly, when you participate in the hackathon, you have a limited time frame to complete a project. So in that excitement, you do well on that project and you get a project for your resume. So these are the things.
Got it. So So, like, while you are participating in hackathon, what your experience? Can you share it?
My experience has been really good, but I have not been able to win many like big type of hackathons, but still I did win some of them. Experience has really been good because it helped me to push my limits, whether it's the PPT round or the technical presentation round. The people, the kind of access you get to the people, the kind of people that you get the access to, that is, I think, the network you develop. Those are the very rewarding parts of participating in a hackathon. And but the most problematic part is that you don't have to sleep the entire night and you have to work on
Okay.
the project. Yeah, so
Got it.
that is a bit problematic. Otherwise, it's really good. Those are fun. It's also a type of event in which you get to connect with like-minded people, like-minded
Yeah.
students. So I had a really good experience.
Okay. So, how did you find? Hackathons. In my case, my college is very strict regarding giving the out passes to outside. So specifically, how to find out the hackathons that we feel that we are able to do that.
Uh, most of the hackathons that I have participated were listed on Unstop, or when you are active on LinkedIn, you get the brochures. So these are some sources from which you can find about hackathons.
How important the internships and real projects are, how they are going to impact on person's resume, or while interviewing or something to get the job. Yeah, it is like
How important are? I didn't get the
how important are the internships and real projects.
internships. Okay.
Yeah.
Regarding the internships, I think I belong to a tier 3 college. I have done my Bachelor of Computer Application from that. So internships and real world projects, these are the only way to compensate the gap, as well as to show the recruiters that you have done work. It adds a name to the resume, and it is the proof. It builds trust among the recruiters that you have done something. And I think you should, during your college years, you should be very proactive towards the internship. If the internship is even not related to the kind of domain you want to pursue, you should go for it. Because for me also, I did an internship in WordPress development. People say that you need to develop real world projects, but for as a student, it gets really hard to actually develop the kind of projects that the companies expect. So what I think is you should work on a problem statement that you find that this is something problematic around you, and develop some project based on that. You should not try to copy or develop those kind of projects which are very tech heavy. The meaning that the project carries and the problem that the project is solving, that is more helpful than trying to make a very tech heavy project. Like I did these things. I used to try to combine many techs like Prisma, PostgreSQL. Even I didn't know all this tech. So that is something.
Yep. So this is the last, important question regarding role. So what is the roadmap that you usually supposed to tell someone if they was starting from scratch regarding cracking AI role?
A lot of people ask me this roadmap, like how did you crack this AI engineer role, coming from BCA background, as well as I was the same person. I didn't know anything about AI. Words like training a model, they felt like rocket science to me. So I was recommended this course by Satyajit Patnaik, by my friend. It is 0 to 365 degree from data science to AI. It's course like that, not the exact title. You can search it and it's gonna come up. It's a 90-hour course. So I started with that course. It covers everything from Python fundamentals to stats, all the maths part. Then it proceeds to machine learning, deep learning, Gen AI. I started with that course. I had knowledge of full stack development. Then I pivoted to AI. I did that course, 90 hours course. And then I developed projects, not the ones that were listed in that course, but different, same, revolving around a problem statement, like trying to optimize the workflows for companies, those kind of problem statements. Then if there was any concept that was not clear to me, I went to the YouTube and searched about that concept. There is a very famous YouTuber, I guess. It's 3 Blue 1 Brown. So they explain all the concepts, all the difficult concepts visually. So I watched a lot of those videos. And then there's Krish Nayak. He also explains all the concepts very easily. So these were my resources that I referred to.
Got it.
And then you have to do the usual part. For me, it was an off-campus process. So I just made the resume and went for the job search, applying to jobs.
So how did you crack your job? Like coming to internship, how did you crack it?
It was the same process. I did all those things. And when I was confident that I have good fundamentals, like I did these things like LangGraph, LangChain, and I also explored Kaggle. And then it was very frantic. I was applying to so many jobs per day. And I was cold messaging people, cold messaging HRs. I would go on the company pages and then I would search the people, I would search the HRs. If I got some number, then I would text on that number or try to call that number. And then I also sent cold emails. Yes.
I don't know this much of, efforts that we have to put just to, get the internship.
Yes,
I don't even know, but yeah, it's really great to listen all this from you, Hishita.
Yes, I really did all that stuff. Even I think, like, how did I do all of that? So then even once you message, you also have to follow up and you have to keep a track of people who have replied, who didn't reply, and when you can again follow up. First of all, when you have to send them connection request on LinkedIn. Only then you can message them, and then you have to wait. They will accept your connection request. So these were the things. And then I also applied on Indeed. I think this job opening, I found it on Indeed, and then I contacted the HR, and then I was offered an internship role. And then I had 3 interviews, and that is how.
Great to listen, by the way. So nice talking to you. Yeah.